We're live in New York with Arise analyst Kade, who is on the ground for first-hand information on the weather conditions there in New York City. Good to have you this weekend, Rotimi. Now, let's talk about the impact on global travel, first of all, because, I mean, this is the holiday season. So how bad is a snowstorm affecting international flights and global travel patterns, considering that New York is a major hub?
Well, more than 3,000 flights locally has been delayed, and about 700 or thereabout international flight has also been canceled for today. Most likely, we're going to be seeing a resumption of these flights in the coming hours, or perhaps maybe in the coming days. But this weather service, or weather conditions, I should say, it's something much more that is expected, because for the first time in many years, we're experiencing what Christmas used to look like in New York, which is heavy snow. And of course, you have people going outside, to experience that. I have my fair share today. I went outside with my jacket, my, head warmer, to just scoop some snow, off my car. It's really dense. Visibility is very, very low. And the city is doing all the best they can to actually, get everybody, back to on the street to see possibly, how this snows and everything. But trust me, the New York city council are doing everything they can to get this snow out of on our streets, and also make people be able to go out and go about their normal business.
The video of what you're seeing there is one of our guests who's usual on the world, Hamilton Odunze, who's also in Boston, Massachusetts. It's terrible weather, no lights, and so he couldn't, join on the show today. But let's turn to the economic consequences of this. What are the potential economic implications of this, snowstorm on local businesses and the broader U.S. economy? Because I know that there's no light in certain areas in the U.S. So how bad is this for the economy?
Well, first of all, talking about the infrastructure when it comes to snowstorm, it's not just the regular snowfall. This is a snowstorm, so it comes with a lot of wind. The According to the National Weather Service, said it's about 3.5 miles per hour wind. That's really heavy. So most likely power lines are going to be down. Most counties would not have power for a considerable number of hours. And of course, after, the heavy storm dies down, there's going to be a restoration of the power, for people to be able to not freeze to death. However, the economic consequences of this is the fact that, well, nobody will be able to go out to go about their normal business or businesses. Flights, people that are supposed to go on a business trip will not be able to do that. Stores and bodegas, would not be able to get enough customers to come in, to purchase. And of course, for kids, they would also not be able to go to the malls and enjoy, the Christmas paraphernalias and all the excitement about the season. But of course, these are more or less, expected when it comes to a snowstorm. It's like everybody down tools. You have to think about safety first. Governor Oko did say that everybody should shelter in place in places where we have about 11.3 snow, 11.3 feet of snow, like in the upstate New York. Those places are totally grounded. And in places like New York City, like Central Park, for instance, where we have about 4.3 inches of snow, we have kids coming out and with their parents to enjoy the snow, and they have the slides and everything. It's really a really A very wonderful time to be around, and building snowman and all that. So all this excitement, despite the fact that it could really, of course, potentially have those economic consequences.
Yeah, and I bet you would say this is the best time to hit the gym, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. I'll tell you that if you have a mini gym at home, you just have to shelter in place because most of the gym facilities are closed down because of this snowstorm. It's always advisable that for business owners to actually take precautions before thinking about businesses because obviously there are financial consequences to that if things are not put in place. So it's always advisable. But I did a little bit of gym exercise this morning. I was able to do it within the confines of my home or my environment. So I was able to get all these things. I get my my runs. I get my uh, my cardio in. So I'm good to go for this weekend.
Now, let's talk about emergency response. How effective are the emergency response plans in place, for managing storms like this in especially densely populated areas like New York? I know you said they're working, but can you visibly see the impact of what they're doing?
Well, typically before any snowstorm, the emergencies are already put in place. For instance, you have, the trucks that are already stationed in certain areas, carrying a heap of salt to neutralize the snow on the streets, and immediately the snow gets on the way. You see them actually on the street, making sure that everything is cleared out. Because the consequence of letting the snow to stay much longer on the street is that it turns to ice and is now more difficult for them to actually do their job. And so they're very proactive when it comes to that. New York is one of the biggest cities in the world. They can't afford to allow snow to actually stop the economic activities in the states. That's one. Number two is that the Federal Emergency Management Agency are always on alert, actually, in case we have any emergencies. So in New York, it's not different. They station in different, they're just one call away. They have their regular, what you call it, the phone lines where you can call, and they really, really on their job. I'm not just, I don't want to be a praise singer for them, but I've seen them firsthand, taking care of people that actually are in need of, you know, certain things when it comes to crisis like this.
Right now, let's briefly just talk about climate change, in connection with this. Is the snowstorm an indicator of changing weather patterns, and how might climate change impact future winter, storms in the Northeast? I'm sure that, with regards to weather conditions, the guys who are in charge or who forecasters, they must have touched on, climate change or something, or does it not have anything to do with climate change?
Well, I think a climate change advocate will tell you that these are some of the resultant effects of, we as the people are not doing to actually curtail some of these excesses. When it comes to snowstorm and damages and, the economy, downtown that it has, some weather advocate have already attributed it to climate change, that the world is changing, the polar regions are melting faster. But again, some political leaders will tell you that this has absolutely nothing to do with weather changes. Sometimes they want to argue that they've had bad snowstorms hundreds of years ago, even when industrialization wasn't a thing at the time, much more now. A lot of people just see it as a regular thing. But again, people who have been um, studying the weather and weather changes and patterns, they would definitely argue that this cannot be far-fetched from climate change.
Now, finally, before I let you go, Rotimi, let's talk about communication strategies here. How are authorities communicating with the public during a snowstorm, and what lessons can be learned for future crises in terms of communication?
Well, first of all, I think in terms of communication, they have different avenues of communication. The television stations are there. Almost every television station do have their weather segments where they tell you how the weather is going to look like tomorrow, what the weather is going to look like in the next 1 week. It's more or less like a forewarning before this disaster or whatever weather changes, occurred. So you get those forewarnings from even your radio or your television. But again, the government take a step further to educate people about this weather changes days ahead, so that nobody's going to be caught napping. In some cases, they have to, cancel schools, it's kids from going to school, sending memos and all that to the parents to say that, well, we cancel school for today because of the weather changes, or weather services weather changes is not, something that we expect, and we don't feel like your kids are going to be safe. So there's enough communication channels all across to prevent people, and for people who might be finding it a little bit difficult, maybe they don't have power or water, or maybe their pipes within their houses are perhaps maybe not in good condition. They always provide, a shelter, for people like that. Like if you're finding it very difficult to live or to stay in your house, which is pretty cold, if you don't have heater, water, whatever, there's an avenue for you to actually go, or a place where you can go shelter in place, provide shelter, food, and all that for you, so that you can be safe.
Thank you so much, Rotimi Kade, for giving us first-hand information with regards to the snowstorm happening in New York City that's causing a lot of travel disruptions. He is a RISE analyst, joined us live from New York City.